Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Next Review. So for this episode, we're going to see how you can use this item, Remote Explorer, Visual Studio Remote Explorer, to work within your virtual machine. So let's say you're inside an EC2 instance and you want to create a file and maybe create some kind of a script. So instead of using something like a Nano or a Vim editor, you can pretty much just use Visual Studio Code like you would on a normal when you're working on your normal PC or Windows or Mac. So you can, let's say you want to create a file, you'll be able to just click maybe create file, new file, create it, and edit the file and normally. And so it's just much easier. It's that much more convenient to do instead of having to write a long script with Vim or Nano inside maybe a Linux machine or something like that. So it's much easier to just, if you're using a Remote Explorer. So we're gonna see how this is done. And so without further ado, let's jump on, I'm gonna jump on the EC2 on my AWS console and create an EC2 instance quickly, and then we will come back to Visual Studio and connect. So let me go to the console. So I'm just gonna quickly create an EC2 instance so that we can see how we can set up the Remote Explorer. So I'm gonna click on, so if you ever saved already, click EC2, you can search. So for those of you who already know how to create an EC2, you can just skip this part of the video and just go to where I'm setting up the Remote Explorer. If you don't know how to create an EC2, you can follow this step and see how you can do that. So you can search EC2, click on EC2, and you're gonna click on launch instance. Okay, so here you can just give a name that you wish. So I'm just gonna call this, I'm gonna call this Visual Studio virtual machine. And then you select your image. I'm just gonna use Amazon Linux, which is already selected by default. So I'm just gonna use that. Linux, so 2022 AMI, free tier eligible. Instance type, I'm just gonna keep it at the default to micro, which is also free tier eligible. I'm gonna create a key pair. So we're gonna use a key pair to log in to the instance. So I'm gonna create one. I'm gonna click on create new key pair. And so I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call this Visual Studio VM dash key. And then RSA, and then I'm just gonna leave it at that PEM. So I'm gonna click on create key pair. So if you notice here, what it did is it downloaded this key. So I'll be able to see it inside my download folder locally. So I'm gonna click edit for the network. I'm just gonna use the default VPC. No preference for the subnets. I'm gonna have the auto IP be assigned, so I'll leave that as enabled. So I'm gonna create a security group. Security group is like a firewall. It's pretty much a firewall, not like a firewall. It's a firewall. So it allows you to control the traffic for your virtual machine. So the name, you can give whatever name you want. I'm just gonna leave this default name. It doesn't matter for me. I'm just demonstrating. Description, I'm gonna say allow SSH. So all we're gonna do is just SSH into the virtual machine. By SSH, I mean just log in. So we're gonna do SSH. So inbound security group, which meaning that it's traffic coming inside the virtual machine. So the type is SSH, and so that's the port for SSH is 22. So it's already selected by default. Sort type, so we are going to log in from our IP address. So I'm gonna select my IP. These other options, if you wanna define where the traffic is coming from. So in my case, it's just gonna come from my IP. So I'll select my IP. and the IPs comes up there. So that's the only rule I want. I don't want any other traffic access. So configuration, storage, I'm just gonna leave it at default. We're just demonstrating a login. So that's it. Let me move this up, and then I'm gonna click on launch instance. So now we're creating our EC2 instance. Okay, it is created successfully. We can click on the ID to see if it's done. So it's still pending. We can give it maybe a few more seconds, then it would be done. So let's see, let me reload. Still pending. Okay, let's reload again. Still pending. Okay, let's give it a few more seconds. So once this is done, and we're gonna come back to this page and set up a remote explorer. Okay, so it should be done now. Let's see. Okay, still pending. All right. So in the meantime, we're waiting for this. Let's jump on Visual Studio and see how to set up the remote explorer. So we're gonna come to the left, see this screen here, this window. So it says remote explorer. So you're gonna go on and click on this. Okay. And then you're gonna come up here where it says SSH. So as soon as you hover your mouse on this, so when it's down, you don't really see it. So as soon as you have your mouse here, you're gonna see these options show up. So you're gonna click on this gear box. So I open SSH config file. So you're gonna click on this, and then you click on where it says user, where it says a config. So this is the configuration file. I'm gonna select that, and then so currently we have some items already showing here. So we have a host, we have a host name, identity file, EC2 user, EC2 user. So the host is just, this is going to be the DNS of the virtual machines we're trying to log into. So this one is a different one, which I had already done. So we're gonna select, we're gonna copy and paste the ones that we have created. We're gonna paste the DNS for that particular EC2 instance here. And we do the same thing here where it says host name. And then here, this is the path of the key. So remember, we created a key, which we're gonna use to log in into the VM, into the virtual machine. So in this case, Visual Studio is gonna use that key to log in to get access, to our virtual machine. So we're gonna copy and paste the full path of the key. Remember, that key was downloaded inside the downloads folder. So that's where we're going to have our key. So we need the path for that key. But again, it's a different name. So we're going to come back to this. So let's go get the information for our EC2 instance. So now it should be done. Let's reload and see. So, okay, so now it says instance state running. So it's running. So we know everything is good. So you can click here, you can click the box, and it gives you, you have the details and everything here. So let me try to scroll this up. Okay, no. Okay. So you can't, let me move this up. Okay. So down here, you have the DNS. So remember, so if you go back to, so we need to have our DNS here. So I'm gonna go copy that DNS. So you can just click on the box here, will copy for you. And go back. So we're gonna paste that here. I'm just going to Control V and then paste it here as well. I'm gonna repeat Control V. And then for the key, So let's see. The name of our key was what? So I can go to connect. So if you click connect, and then if you come here where it says example. So this is a command that you can use to log in remotely into your virtual machine, SSH, blah, 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 blah. But so the key, if you see the key that we created was called vs-vm-key.pem. So that's the key. So we need the name of this key. So I'm just gonna copy the name and go back to Visual Studio. And since so the key was downloaded in the side of download folder, so I don't have to change this path because it is exactly the same path as this one. So the only thing I'm gonna change is just the name of the key itself. So this one was called Nova Key. I'm just gonna paste a new name here. So this new one is called vs-vm-key. By VS, I just meant Visual Studio virtual machine. Okay, so we have our key, we have the host name, and the user, if you notice, I don't know, you might not have noticed, but the user is actually the same. So this is the user here, right before the IP address or the DNS. So the user EC2, this is the default user, EC2 user, when you create a EC2 instance. So we need that user. So it's gonna use the user and the DNS to log in. So the user is already the same, so we don't have to change that. So once you have all these things set up, you can just save the file. You can do Control S or click File and click Save. So now it's saved. Okay, so once we have this thing saved, we can now log in. Okay, so you can come here, EC2, you click on, so you can click here, so it says connecting current window, so you can just click on that. Now it's gonna go ahead and attempt to connect remotely to your virtual machine. Okay, so it's saying opening remote. So we're setting up SSH host and then a DNS. So it's being set up. Okay, let's see. So it could not establish connection. Let's say close remote. Okay, let's try that again. For some reason it failed. Let's see. Let's go back to remote. Let's check our config file again, make sure everything is still there as we did. So we should have a VSVM. Okay, so everything is there. Okay, let's try that again one more time. Let's see if it's gonna connect us on. Okay, so it says Linux. So we launched a Amazon Linux. So we're gonna click select Linux, and then it says, do you want to continue? Are you sure? I'm gonna say continue. Now let's just wait. Okay, so now it's connected. So once you get this page, and then and you have your SSH and you have the DNS showing here, it's connected. And then so you can click Control tilde. That's the key below the escape on the far top left of your keyboard. So hold Control and then tilde, and then that's going to bring up your terminal. So now you are essentially inside a virtual machine. So you can, let's say, you can run your Linux stuff, you commands ls, or you can click who am I, actually, okay, wrong command, I wrote it wrong. Who, okay, am I? Okay, so EC2 user. Okay, so the convenience really comes in. Let's say you want to write a script. So now I can essentially, so you can click on, let's say, explore here. And I can say open. Well, actually, let me see if I do make dir. Let me see if I try to open something else. Let's see test folder. I click that and I cd into that. Okay, I just cd into this new folder I just created. So I click on open folder now and test folder. And I click on OK. So I'm gonna say trust the authors. Okay. Let me click on my Ctrl to that again to bring back my terminal. Okay. So you can click, let's say now you can, let's say you want to create a file, because now we are inside a test folder that we just created. Now you can just work on this thing just like you would on your normal Windows or Mac, whatever. So let's say test file, .sh. So you can create a test file and just begin to edit, as you normally would, This is a test, what you would ask for save. So instead of using something like a Nano or Vim, it's really hard to navigate sometimes. This is just much simpler. You can do your stuff. It's pretty much easier to edit. So you can work on from here, just navigate normally. So you can navigate the folders from here, or you can use your Linux command to do that as well. And then ls test folder. So yeah, so this is just more convenient. So yeah, so that concludes the video. So yeah, so it is Remote Explorer, Virtual Studio Remote Explorer. So a very convenient way to work inside your virtual machine. So yeah, that concludes that, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.